Alright, so I just wanted to get y'all's input on this. This is the axle seal over here that was leaking. As you can see, I got everything apart. Pulled the axles and the carrier out on both sides so I can inspect everything. If you can see in here. Maybe. Okay. There's quite a bit of gear oil. That's not really showing up on camera. There we go. You can see all the gear oil inside the axle tube, and it kind of comes almost there. You can see the reflection. You can see that's gear oil there. It comes almost up to the lip of the seal down on the other end inside the axle tube. So there's quite a bit of gear oil inside this one, and this is the one that was leaking. This side over here, a little bit of gear oil in there, but not much. And this side wasn't leaking. And I replaced these seals when I rebuilt the axle a couple years ago. Get under here. I even sealed up when I did it. Come on, focus. There we go. You can see I sealed up with silicone around where the metal presses into the axle tube. And I inspected the seal. There's no nicks or anything. And I even popped the axle in with the carrier out. And I, just to look at the okay. Just to look at how the axle fits in on the seal, see how it rides, and it wasn't like supported by the carrier here, so I kind of just had to hold it up mid-height, and it looked like it was sealing fine, and this side wasn't leaking. So basically, I rebuilt the front end, and I tested it a few times. I didn't really use it, and that was 2 years ago. And then I went out to my parents' land out in East Texas, and I had to use the four-wheel drive to get into the land. And I hadn't checked it, but I got underneath the truck to replace the starter the other day, and I noticed there was some gear oil leaking out on that side of the tube, and it was around the tire and everything too. And it wasn't leaking before that. It only started, I don't know if it was leaking immediately after I went to the land, because it was a 3-hour drive. It was a couple hundred miles out there. I don't know how long it had been leaking. I don't know if using the four-wheel drive out there somehow caused it, or it's unrelated. But that's the only thing I can think of. The seal looks fine. And the only other thing I can think of would be maybe somehow the axle is not supported very well by the bearing. Maybe the bearing's bad, but I put new races and bearings in. It didn't seem loose or anything. But then again, it would be, the axle tube would be straight. I mean, it would be being supported by the carrier, so you wouldn't think you would see that much slop over there, even if the bearings were bad over here. You think it would be fine over here because it's splined into the carrier. So I don't know. I'm really kind of at a loss as for what's going on right now. And I don't want to replace those seals because they were a giant fucking pain in the ass. I destroyed one set trying to put it in, and then I had a second set, and I was able to get those in without destroying them. Still didn't go in clean, but I didn't mess up the seals, and it worked fine for a couple of years. And they put about 3,000 miles on the truck since I did that. So, I mean, if anybody has any ideas as to what, the only thing I can think is, I think it was this one. I saw one of the races had spun a little bit. This is when I rebuilt the axle. I saw one of the races had spun, and I put new bearings and races in it, and I red Loctited that race in, and it was the one down here, the one where the bearing is, or which one was it? Honestly, I can't remember which one it was, but I mean that race isn't loose. The other race is in on that side. I can check it, but you know, even if it happened again, I don't think that would cause it. I don't even remember if it was this side or it was that side where it happened, but I don't know, man. You would think that even if let's say the race did spin and the bearing was loose over here, which it's not, the bearings are all tight. There's no play in them, but even if there was, the axle is being supported by the carrier right in there, so there should be no play in that. You would only notice play, and actually the axle's not even supported by anything on this side. It just kind of slops around in there a little bit, and then when you put the four-wheel drive on, then the splines lock in, and then it's supported. Because it just kind of, where is it? The axle protrudes. So this is like the hub. The axle protrudes out of here, and it's not even really supported by anything there. It's just kind of hanging there. It's not real loose, but it's just kind of hanging there. I mean, that's the only thing that comes to mind, but even if it was loose, which I can't get those races to move and the bearings are tight, and with the white wheel and everything bolted together, there's no play in it. So, I mean, I don't know. Does anybody have any ideas